You're welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for starting your day with us bright and early. I mean, it's bright on this part here. We don't know what it's like, wherever you are. But regardless of where you are streaming live on YouTube. News Central TV is the platform. And we're taking comments from our chat box as well. Donald Trump has said no rest for the Nigerian government. Well, if he has said no rest, where are we to rest? We must show up here at work. My name is Olive Emodi, and this is Breakfast Central. And I'm not doing this alone, of course. The man, Joe Hansen, is here with me. Hello, Joe. Donald Trump has said no rests. You lost for neck like bow tie.
Trump is like the sermon to the church. So he's ensuring that he must push that narrative. But that's how we start this morning's show on News Central's Breakfast Central. I'm Joe Hansen, and we are here. We'll be here for the next 3 hours. Big stories to look into. One of which Olive has mentioned. Donald Trump didn't just post a tweet or on Truth or on X, but he has gone as far as making a video. And in that video, he's stating clearly what he had said initially and why he's reiterating it, and trust, of course, what the world is doing. Everyone is obviously going there, having their own opinion, having their own say, while the Nigerian government has continued to emphasize that it is not what is being said. Now, we're going to look into this story and many more. Plus, there are counter reactions here and there. We also found out that there are some politicians who haven't said anything yet concerning this Donald Trump Nigeria story, the USA invasion. And many have also highlighted that why is it that the religious leaders who are bold and talk every now and then have all of a sudden kept mute or quiet?
Well, maybe because a number of them just feel like it's not something that they want to. It feels in some measure like a bandwagon conversation. One. In another instance, it feels like people are trying to be politically correct. There are people who have a perspective, but don't want to offend either party. They don't want to offend the federal government of Nigeria because they have interests there. They do not want to offend the United States.
Wait.
They don't want to. Let me rephrase. They don't want to offend the presidency
because
they have
vested interest,
and then they don't want to offend the United States. So it's more like they'll take a center, point in all of this matter. They're not taking sides. But at the end of the day, it is the Nigerian citizens. When Nigeria is designated as a country of particular concern, the implications are not little in any way. There's several implications in terms of what our economy would become or is or transitioning to be, because it might, will, or has the potential to affect voter confidence. There's also the threat of the US invasion, and President Trump has released a video. It's more like he feels like maybe the tweet or the post he put out were not convincing enough, so maybe you need to hear a video. So there's a video on the official White House page. But before we take a look at that video, let's look at the US Senator Ted Cruz when he talks excitedly applauding President Trump and saying, he was very excited about Nigeria being designated a country of particular concern. Let's take a look.
So this weekend, President Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. That is tremendous news. It's something that I've been advocating for a long time. There is no country on earth where Christians are more persecuted than Nigeria. Since 2009, more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered by Boko Haram and radical Islamic extremists. More than 20,000 churches and schools have been burned to the ground. I introduced legislation to direct the administration to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. President Trump has done that. Thank you, President Trump. We're going to keep the fight going to protect Christians and to protect religious liberty.
And that is U.S. Senator Ted Cruz talking about applauding President Trump for designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern. And President Trump again has reiterated the fact that if Nigeria doesn't come in swiftly, in fact, they put out a tweet, a post on the White House page this morning. And in that video, President Trump had said the same things that we've heard before, Absolutely. But this time just doubling down on it and saying that if Nigeria government doesn't act fast, there'll be boots on the ground, they're moving, it will be sharp, it will be sweet, and the likes. I saw the video initially, I thought it was AI, until I went to check the White House page. And so just like this is the same thing President Trump has been saying, but basically trying to push for this and letting us know that it's not a it's not a joke, and they're not playing about it.
It's not, Olive. And this conversation is starting to become bigger than what was expected. I think initially the presidency would have thought that as long as we've put out disclaimers and we've continued to educate not just Nigerians but the world that this is the true sense of what is happening in Nigeria, that by now the United States of America should have been able to back off and just allow Nigeria and the presidency and the government basically to handle the situation. But you see, more receipts are starting to come out. And when I say receipts, please take note. What I simply mean is more receipts that are, in other words, also highlighting what the presidency, what the president, which is the United States president, is saying, actually coming out. And guess who are the people talking? The people who are talking are currently even governors of the state here in Nigeria. I'll give you an example. You have a governor who had come out on national TV and then went on to say that he's very certain that the killings are not just ordinary killings. They're killings that are planned. They want to Islamize and so on and so forth. And these videos are also being played on social media. So where are we going with all of this? The point is the current administration, under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they have a lot of work to do. And I must say, well, so far so good. They're putting up the speed they need to put up. In other words, we see the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We see what they're doing. Yesterday, he was somewhere, so I saw a footage at the lobby of a hotel, and a few people came in. He's also spending time traveling, trying to ensure that Nigerians and also non-Nigerians understand what the true situation is. But how long are we going to go with this back and forth? The point is, one, was there a genocide? Is there a genocide? That's a question that needs to be handled clearly and needs to be spelled out correctly. I expect that the orientation agency by now should have put out a video very quickly. Put out a video. This is where I expect the government, and I'm going to say it clearly. I was thinking that when there was a launch of, was it electronic vehicles or something, the federal government had taken some celebrities and took them abroad to India or something, and they were shooting and they were hyping, they were doing. Where's the same energy? Where are the celebrities? And by the way, where are also the celebrities? Where are they? I was expecting that by now, the celebrities who have been standing forth and saying, listen, we stand with this, we stand with that. Where are you? This is the time for you to come out.
They are settling fights with Regina Daniel and
okay, that's where they belong to now. Okay, no problem. Celebrities, where are you? The cleric, the big cleric, the ones we know with the big names, who talk tough, who speak, who are very grandiose when they speak, they don't hide their mouth. Where are they?
Well, a number of these pastors have been speaking.
All of you have.
At least off the top of my head, I know that I have seen Pastor Emmanuel Iren speaking about it. I've seen Pastor Philip Olubakin share about it. I've seen a number of these pastors share on their social media platforms about it. And there's some even in their congregations.
There's some names.
Well, I don't know if they've spoken. I'm just saying the ones that I have seen that have spoken about it. Some I don't follow on social media. Some I haven't gone to look out for their posts. I know that also the celebrities that we talk about, a number, especially the gospel celebrities, they've been speaking about it. I've seen them share posts. I saw Layode Juliana share about it. I saw, Pastor Wale Adefarasin as well of Guiding Light Assembly has, shared about this as well.
There's some names, for those who are watching, they understand what, you're right, don't get me wrong. But for our viewers, they understand what I'm highlighting, where I'm going. Because when it comes to political issues, you'll find certain names who are very quick. Even when it comes to protests years ago, you will see them. They were very, very active. Where are they now? That's a question. Third question, Olive, and I think it's a question that bothers a lot on the current situation. Sometime years ago, if I'm right, 2019 or so, the current president had also tweeted, and that tweet has gone viral up until now. The tweet initially had died down. People kept bringing it back up. Even now, it came back up. But the president talked about the former president who was then in power, former president Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, that he's doing a bad job. And he highlighted that why are Christians? So that's also coming up. So it's a case of, okay, now we have issues bordering on this particular matter. we have to put up all efforts and everything to ensure that we handle it properly. It's a tough nut to crack, but trust me, I can rightly say that. Is the government doing what they can to resolve the issue? Yes, they are.
I just want to read, I mean, we're talking about Orientation Agency coming to explain that video. So I want to talk about the definition of a genocide. I'm on the United Nations website. And, you know, it says, in the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial or religious group, such as 1, killing members of the group, 2, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, 3, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in parts, 4, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, 5, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. So they then go on, and I think that we will do this here on Breakfast Central as well, do a segment where we break it down. What is a genocide? Share the numbers that we have, you know, the numbers that are available to the public in terms of these killings, do an analysis and leave the audience to decide what they will regarding the killings that have been happening in the Middle Belt area and in other parts of Nigeria, to be fair. But let's see what Nigerians are saying about this on X. The designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern is not the cause of our crisis, but a symptom of it. It is the international echo of a domestic failure. The true scandal is not the world's recognition of our plight, but the leadership that brought us here. This fear of invasion stems directly from the vacuum created by a government that has failed in its most fundamental duty to protect lives and property, while citizens suffer from terror and economic neglect. The response has been reckless borrowing and self-enrichment. Therefore, the logical and just response from the international community should not be the invasion of our sovereignty, but the targeted sanctioning of those who have plundered it. We must hold the architects of this collapse accountable, not the nation they have brought to its knees. Uba Sinachi says, Senator, the world would welcome a sincere effort from the United States to address the tragic killings in Nigeria. Yet, there is a pervasive perception that U.S. interests is not truly in the loss of life, but in the economic opportunities that arise from instability. Many believe Nigeria is labeled the country of particular concern, less because of the violence and more because of its strategic natural resources. This perception is reinforced when one compares the situation to other severe crises, such as those in Sudan and Gaza, which have not received the same designation. This apparent inconsistency undermines the credibility of U.S. foreign policy.
Very nice one. Well taken. Well, Ajofia Idiato says, sanctions won't fix what corruption and bad governance created. Nigeria needs justice and accountability from within, not foreign threats. Foreign interference disguised as concern has never helped Africa. That is concern. I'm a Nigerian Christian and I support this. The government of Nigeria is inept and pardons terrorists and Boko Haram members. Now, you see that last line. Just get in touch with UAE Media Office. They sent a list of those financing terrorism some time ago to the Nigerian government. Kindly ask them, what did they do with the lists? Okay. And this is a long one. Thanks, Senator Cruz. Crypto Diho says, as a Nigerian, I'm not optimistic about U.S. military intervention, but you've 100% of my support and at least 70% to 90% support of the entire country to implement this part of your bill. My legislation implements additional steps, including targeting those who implement blasphemy and Sharia laws in Nigeria. In fact, please go farther than that. Revoke their visas and that of their friends, family members. Freeze, forfeit any of their assets in U.S. and allies tied to them in any manner. Eliminate them through covert, non-military ways. I mean, we're going to state clearly, we don't support that. I mean, you could have your opinion, but making that a very stern one, we don't agree with that. Please widen the net. Virtually almost all our politicians are responsible for the disaster through corruption. And that's all the tweets we're going to take concerning this particular story.
Again, I mean, in the next few months, we'll see what the implications of this weeks. I don't think months. I think this is not the first time that Nigeria has been listed as a country of particular concern. Donald Trump did it in his last administration in 2020. Nigeria was listed as a country of particular concern. In 2021, Joe Biden lifted us off that list and said that progress has been made. What the implications of this would be that there will be restrictions to the aid that Nigeria can get from the United States. And, you know, even in terms of export, there might be certain sanctions in that regard. But like we said, in the next few weeks, we'll see what that will mean.
We'll see. And don't forget, they also said the few names they're going to mention very soon, about 12 governors or so. So let's wait to see what that will look like. Let's move on to our next story now. The next wake-up conversation is about bandits. Well, we haven't really moved further. It's still within the circles of the same story. But this is a sad one. Bandits ambushed a Niger lawmaker. And while during the ambush, they killed soldiers who were attached and they damaged vehicles. That's a sad story as well, in line with that particular one, talking of insecurity. But it's quite sad. The Niger State lawmaker, the soldiers, and of course the Nigerian military force and everyone has condemned all of these acts, and they're putting up every single thing they need to do in order to ensure that they do well to stop all these senseless killings. But then again, it still bothers to with what we just said, which is our first story. But let's move away from that. Let's give you something that sounds like a pretty much interesting news. And it's got to do with what went down in the Senate. The Senate now has okayed 14-year jail term for any lecturer who sexually abuses anyone, even within campus and so on. He stands to spend 14 years in jail. Now, the Nigerian Senate approved the Sexual Harassment of Students Prevention and Prohibition Bill 2025, prescribing a 14-year jail term with a minimum of 5 years and no option of fine for educators found guilty of sexually harassing students in tertiary institutions. Now, this was sponsored and moved by Senator Okwemi Bamidele of APC Ekiti Central. The bill seeks to curb the persistent cases of sexual exploitation within Nigeria's academic system and reinforce accountability in the teacher-student relationship. Lawmakers describe the legislation as a bold step toward protecting students' rights and restoring integrity in high institutions, even as questions linger over how effective the new sanctions will be enforced across universities and also colleges nationwide. So, Olive, good one. I think this has been called for years.
Just to mention that we already have legislation to punish sexual assault. First of all, the Nigerian Constitution is the ground norm. The Nigerian Constitution guarantees that your right to dignity of human person. And when a person is sexually abused, what you're doing is you're stripping them of their right to dignity of human person. So the Constitution already provides an umbrella covering, and when anyone does actions in contravention of that, you should be made to face the law. But we can also rely on the Criminal Code, Section 351, 352, 360. Any person who unlawfully assaults another is guilty of a misdemeanor and is liable, if no greater punishment is provided, to imprisonment for 1 year. Any person who assaults another with intent to have carnal knowledge of him or her against the order of nature is guilty of a felony and is liable to imprisonment for 14 years. That's interpreted to mean the current issues with or the legislation Nigeria has against same-sex relations. Any person who unlawfully and indecently assaults a woman or girl is guilty of a misdemeanor and is liable to imprisonment for 2 years. And if you go to the north, in the Penal Code, Section 281, whoever, in order to gratify the passions of another person, procures, entices, or leads away, even with her consent, a woman or girl, for immoral purposes, shall be punished with imprisonment which may extend to 7 years, and also shall be liable to fine. And then finally, 285, whoever commits an act of gross indecency upon the person of another without his consent or by the use of force or threats, compels a person to join with him in the commission of that act, shall be punished with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 7 years and shall also be liable to fine, provided that a consent given by a person below the age of 16 years to such an act when done by his teacher, guardian, or a person entrusted with his care or education shall not be deemed to be consent within the meaning of his section. And then we can start going to state laws and all. But I think, first of all, that this is a step in the right direction. Having the laws, ensuring that we wield legislative instruments to combat an issue that we fight with. However, then taking it deeper to an issue that many have found to be a major challenge in our tertiary institutions. So I will applaud, our lawmakers for this positive move. Students in tertiary institutions face many cases of sexual exploitation. And this time it's not just from your colleagues, it's from your lecturers. If you speak with any Nigerian woman who schooled here, A number of them, a number of us, let me not say them, a number of us,
10.
I have my experience, I've shared it on this show, where a lecturer told me that the reason he gave me a D in a course is because I refused to give him my phone number. And I've called his name before, because every time I think about it. And he didn't tell me, it just did not make sense to me that I had a D in that course, because when I was taking the course, everybody warned me, Olive, don't take this man's course, he's a womanizer, don't take his course. My seniors warned me, but I get coconut head. I didn't listen. I went and I studied extra hard for his course because I needed to prove a point. And I didn't want a situation where it would be that I wanted him to be able to mark me good beyond reasonable doubt. Yeah. And I remember second semester, he jokingly mentioned, you people should go and read from first semester. We set questions from first semester. Joe, people didn't take him seriously. I did. I went and read for first semester, such that we got into the exam hall. I saw that there were questions set from first semester. But guess who was prepared? Me. So I answered my questions very well. People were crying around me because they didn't prepare from first semester. Results came out. People that were crying were having B's and C's. I had a D. And it just didn't make sense to me. Tell me why in my final year, Joe, I was in class one morning reading, because I used to go to the class. Sometimes we go early before class starts. Then he comes to the class and says I should come out. I come out and he says he wants to apologize to me for what happened last semester. That the reason I got a D in my course was because I refused to give him my phone number. But that he can rectify it. I should make him my project supervisor so that he will give me an A. This was not reported speech. This was my experience in university. And mine is it's mild in comparison to what some other women have had to experience.
Yeah.
So I think it's a step in the right direction. But more importantly, my major concern is enforcement and implementation. Rather. Because you speak up against one. Many women don't want to speak up against these lecturers because you just imagine that they're going to gang up against you. It's a cabal. They'll gang up against you, and then there'll be no opportunity for you to be able to do well in other courses. Yeah. So first step is enacting the laws. Second step is implementation. And
ensuring that it cuts across all universities, not a particular one. So that's it. But let's see what Nigerians are saying about this story very quickly. And let's see their reactions to this. Diwali says, 14 years is a good start. Some predators have been hiding behind, I'm your lecturer, for too long. School is for learning, not harassment. Thank you, Diwali. Let them understand. It's for learning. It's not for harassment. Nonso says, this is a good initiative. How well will it be monitored and executed? That's what Olive just highlighted. We hope that it's actually enacted ASAP, and anyone who commits should face the wrath of the law. How about senators and politicians that use their power to intimidate poor Nigerians? This one too,
This one is shots fired.
Can we have a law that takes them to prison too, and those that steal public funds? You see these last two questions you asked there, until it's done, then maybe we'll start seeing changes. I support this law. Kudos to the Akpabio-led Senate, Kenneth says. And do we have one more tweet to go? Okay, that's all we're going to take here on this particular story on Wake Up Conversations. It's been back and forth, especially for Nigerian students, and I think this would be a good one. Sadly, many would have expected that these laws are bordering on ensuring that lecturers are indeed handled not with kids' gloves, but of course with iron fist, would have come to the fore since. But it's never too late. There's a generation going and generation coming, and we cannot expect the same thing to take place. Let's move on now to our next story. The next story is one that has gathered so much on social media, and it's not about the US Trump invasion. We need to take a breather on that story. This time it's about a journalist. A journalist has decided to take the bull by the horn, Olive. Decided to go to Senator Ned Nwoko's mini stadium. If you've been following the story, pictures were circulated online. There you have it, these pictures. And the pictures clearly pinpointed one thing, that Senator Ned Nwoko has built a mini stadium, all right there in Delta State, particularly in Iseluku, Delta State. And you can see how beautiful and lovely these pictures are. Now, if you are a football lover, a footballer, a youth, name it, you'd want to experience it. Isn't that so? Well, a journalist decided to say, you know what? Let me take a look around and see what it looks like physically. And this is what he saw. Take a look.
Now, the only standard pitch in this place is this forest I'm currently showing you. And as you can see, it's overgrown and abandoned. Now, he also said that there are 2 stands in the project that was awarded. This is one stand that comes with the standard pitch. The other stand is all the way on the other side. I can't walk there to show you in this one video, right? And both these stands are basically forests. That's just the best way to put it. Therefore, this video is being made today, the 4th of November. It's just a completion of the series, and I'm walking through it to give you guys the rest of the lowdown. This is the forest, by the way. Remember, this project, this forest part of it does not concern Senator Nwoko. However, the stadium that the mini stadium he attracted, I will not lie, is attracting attention from the youths. We have young boys come here in the evening, come to play 5-a-side football. He said it's 7-a-side, where this is the pitch and this is the stand. I'm not talking about the other things like game room or dressing room. I don't know all of that stuff. You get, but this is the one I am looking at. Perfect. So,
Okay. My first question is, was there a pitch or there was no pitch?
There was a pitch there now.
5-a-side. Small one, mini one.
So maybe what he's done is amplify the magnitude of what he's done, which also is not an honest thing to do, if that's what it is. Honestly, you know what? Maybe we should share what.
Let's go to.
Let's start with Ned Nwoko's tweet, and then we'll go to a clip. And in the tweet, he says, "The newly completed modern mini stadium in Iseluku is a symbol of our collective progress in Delta North. This project was conceived to inspire youth, promote healthy competition, and strengthen community spirit. It features a standard football pitch, a 7-a-side multi-sports arena, which that journalist has told us looks more 5-a-side, pavilions on both sides, and well-equipped dressing rooms, all designed to create an enabling environment for sports and recreation. For me, every project is about impact, about giving our people access to facilities that uplift, empower, and unite. With this stadium, we are nurturing the next generation of athletes and leaders who will make Delta North proud. Our journey of transformation continues, one community at a time." Okay, let's see what Nigerians are saying about the stadium and the reaction.
Well, Jerry says this is exactly how propaganda thrives. A modern stadium that nobody in the community has seen. No coordinates, no pictures, no commissioning video, no beneficiary testimony, nothing. Just political poetry and a cheering squad. If the stadium truly exists, let them show the location on Google Maps, photos of the pitch, pavilion and dressing rooms, video of the completed site. Public office is not theater. We're tired of projects that only exist on paper. That's Jerry. Let's see who else is talking. Well, Chief Lauren says, with all due respect, Senator, this isn't progress. It's proof of how low our leaders set the bar. You travel the world, see real stadiums and sports complexes that create jobs, tourism and revenue. Yet, what you bring back home is a patch of grass and painted pavilions. Nigeria doesn't need another glorified mini project. We need leaders with imagination, people who can think beyond token gestures and build infrastructure that competes globally. These inferior projects only deceive the poor while the country keeps moving backward. Wow. Chuck says, why do old politicians lie a lot in times like this, where data and access are so easy to obtain? The worst part is that some people will still come and sing his praise. Chooks, I think some need to get with the program. We're now in social media age. Dear Ned, this isn't a mini stadium. This is mini football pitch. Thanks. Hi, Chief Lawrence. Igbenz tells him. And the last one, the stadium is very fine. This is, what's sarcasm? Says this is FIFA stadium. Tech lawyer, be careful.
Okay.
Wow.
Ned Nwoko has been in the news now, not just for the criticism regarding this, but very sadly about his marriage and the issues that have fallen apart in his marriage. Now, it started with allegations of violence. His brother-in-law posted a video online that then snowballed into him giving a report on Instagram, on social media, where he accused his wife, Regina Daniels, of being violent and being addicted to drugs. Now, a flurry of reactions have come right after that. And what we've then seen is he's been quiet, but the latest allegations against him would be that they say they cannot find their brother. Regina Daniels and the family has spoken up saying they're looking for their brother. They cannot find him. And they accuse Senator Ned Nwoko of arresting their brother and taking him to, the police. They've been tagging the Nigerian police. You can see here, she says, this is now a case of kidnapping. Holding my brother down till I return is diabolical. What do I call this now? Love or obsession? You have always said that I am the most useless wife. Why then do you need that useless wife back? Free my brother. No matter what he did, his parents and family should be able to see him. Nigerian police, free Sammy West. And you can see the hashtag there. And then she says, please help me sign this. Her brother started a petition on change.org. And then in that petition, you could see that there are a number of people who have signed the petition. He said, let's say I have nothing. My family is nothing. But you know what I'm most thankful for? Aside every other thing that I am privately thankful for is the media. Even if I hate the media because it tried to break me, but I formed Jagaban. I'm actually thankful to everyone on this same media. Omo, thank you, everybody, from my heart. I see, I hear, I listen, but I'm mad too, she says. And then she goes on to say, please let's massively sign this petition Bro Lawrence created. And then she says, I come out for extended family, go, they support polygamous home. And then she goes on to call herself really mad, saying that it's okay to mock her. So she's gone on a rant. The rant has taken the form of posts on social media. She even made a video. And in the video, she talked about not having slept since 5 a.m. and how people have just moved on while they're sleeping. She said she will fight for her kids to get her kids back. And again, she mentioned that, Ned had arrested her brother and she was worried about who will be the next person. The question is, where really is her brother? Regardless of what their marital troubles are, where is her brother? Can Senator Ned Nwoko speak to that? Did he manipulate law enforcement agents in arresting her brother? If that happened, that's an abuse of powers, and that should be checked. It should be checked. We hope to get feedback from him. As we wrap up Wake Up Conversations, very quickly, I'll take just 2 comments and we'll move on. Maurice Moye says, guns are blazing. I believe he's referring to the U.S. Trump invasion and the latest with Senator Ted Cruz. And Mokuye Chukwuemeka says, where are the prophets and pastors and bishops? They are mute, and that's in reference to what Joe said as well regarding why religious leaders have not spoken about the genocide and the allegations of genocide against Christians. Holiness says, we can argue all day, but the question is as follows. 1, has any community been sacked and occupied by Christians? 2, which religion is practicing jihad, and what is the meaning of jihad if not genocide?
Anyway.
Final one. Mokuye Chukwuemeka says, Ned lying in broad daylight, the audacity. And he was still tweeting about bills he has sponsored yesterday after the revelations about the stadium audio.
Well, we hope to see the international ultra-modern stadium, but since now we don't have it, people should manage the one that you have near the bush and enjoy football.
5 aside.
Yes, 3 aside. Let's bring to you the top stories, the headlines this morning on Breakfast Central.
This morning on Breakfast Central, controversy trails fresh travel tax scheme. We'll be looking into this. And Sowore remains wanted. The Lagos CP declares, he was on our show 2 days ago, and he did say that the Lagos CP had no right to declare him wanted. Federal government launches portal for universities. You can see that transparency there. FIRS money laundering allegations. We can see here that there have been strong allegations against officials of FIRS for money laundering. And the newspaper front pages will be reviewed this morning. Join us for all these and more. Welcome back. The Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, has announced plans to introduce a new $11.50 levy on all international air tickets for inbound and outbound passengers starting the 1st of December 2025. The charge, known as the Advanced Passenger Information System (APIS) levy, is projected to generate nearly $1 billion in revenue over the next 20 years. The new fee, tagged as a security charge, will be added to the existing $20 security fee, bringing total security-related ticket cost to $31.50 per passenger. According to the NCAA, proceeds will fund aviation security improvements and enhance data management systems across Nigerian airports in line with international standards.
However, the policy has drawn strong criticism from aviation stakeholders, operators, and travelers who describe it as another blow to Nigeria's already overtaxed aviation sector. With Nigeria already ranked as the third most expensive country in Africa for air ticket taxes, analysts fear the new levy will further strain an industry battling inflation, forex volatility, and declining passenger affordability. The NCAA is yet to respond publicly to the backlash. This morning, we have economist and development expert, Dr. Aliyu Elias, who joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Elias.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Another tax, another pay, and another taxation on Nigeria's already taxed, burdened lifestyle. What do you make out of this $11.50 AP's levy? Is it actually a good time to bring this up, looking at the fact that our aviation sector or the industry itself is indeed struggling? We do not have a national carrier. We're still hoping on getting one. The airfares, ticketing is expensive. And there you go. You bring an $11.50 AP's levy. What do you make out of that?
I think it's not sensitive enough to have such increment at this point in time, where we are actually battling different taxation in Nigeria. We're looking at how we can actually better reduce it. Also, if you look at it, it's as if there's a contradiction between our monetary policy and our fiscal policy, because it appears that monetary policy is ensuring that inflation comes down, every other thing comes down, the economy gets better. But if you look at fiscal policy, they actually are increasing taxes every now and then. And coming to the aviation, ordinarily there is 20% tax on security already. So I don't see a reason why we should just go and add 11% to it, maybe $31 rather, not percent, dollars. So now, looking at things now, you have seen that there's a report already that Nigerian aviation charges tickets, whatever you are, is the third highest in Africa. And if you want to be a tourism destination, you want to be a place for foreign direct investment, you want a place where people just come, it is not a good one. I was even thinking it should be much more of an inbound, not outbound. But in this case, it's outbound and inbound that this levy is going to be charged. I think we need to be sensitive more. We need to make our country attractive to be a center for foreign direct investments. Because if you look at Africa, we should be the destination for investment in terms of population, in terms of even the purchasing power to an extent. But with different taxation, it becomes a challenge for people to actually get attracted to Nigeria.
And while I can agree about how right now it's a sensitive time, Nigerians are not excited about the idea of hearing new updates to tax. We're counting down to January when the new tax measures will be implemented. But was it a necessary improvement in terms of the aviation safety measure? Do you think that this would make any drastic improvement in how we fly?
Right. In as much as we don't want to compromise security, we believe security is very, very important, especially in aviation. I think it's not the right time. The trajectory we are seeing is that Nigerian carriers are beginning to have their have an air route into international flights. I think we should do more in terms of that. If we have 5 of our carrier going not only airplanes, going abroad, by so doing, you said yes, now you are standard and you can do other things. So for me, like you rightly mentioned, in as much as we know that a particular major reform of taxation is going to commence in January, and just 2 months, should have look at that and let it be operational before we can actually add that. And I would like to urge the National Assembly to also come into this, because they must also make sure that Nigeria is not overtaxed, is not overburdened, because those things have their way of affecting Nigeria economy. Those things find their way back to actually affect us negatively. You know, when you want to travel, when you are coming, there's no doubt, once that is introduced, it will be much more, you know, and we also have, for now, we may say we have stable, but the dollar to naira is not where we want it to be. So for we to actually achieve our aim, where we have naira to dollar at 700, naira to dollar at 1,000, I think that will be fine. So I think the monetary economy need to come into this and make sure that the fiscal policy of such taxation is actually take hold for now.
Okay, I mean, just to follow up with that, we know that aviation is an economic multiplier, and if fewer people fly because of high cost of tickets and how expensive flying is, it indirectly affects tourism and hospitality. Do you think that this addition, this new information, is sufficient enough to reduce the cost of flying? Sorry, or the numbers of the flyers. How do you think this will impact our flying habits, you know, those leaving Nigeria, those coming into Nigeria? Do you think it's going to make a grave impact, or maybe just a slight hit to the numbers we see currently?
Right. Unlikely with the new reform that we'll have in Forex, that is willing buyer, willing seller, also in the reform we have in the cost of for removal of fuel subsidy, it has affected aviation, be it local or international. You can look at me that before, if you want to travel out of Nigeria, sometimes you even pay 500, 400,000. But where outside Nigeria, outside Africa, outside Nigeria, can you travel to that amount? Even locally, we are complaining that it's very expensive. So definitely it's going to affect our tourism, it's going to affect the way we travel, it's going to affect people that actually come into Nigeria, because it's not uncountable. So our rational people want to put it into a proper perspective. For the travel, everything is being calculated. You want to just go to London and come back, maybe because of something. You may as well think, yes, so it's going to reduce the number of flyers, people that will fly out of or and into Nigeria.
Well, I think the Minister of Aviation and Aeronautical Space and some members of the Nigerian aviation sector were looking at Dirty December predominantly, looking at the numbers and the influx of persons who would be coming into the country, especially from now up until the end of December. So by a multiplier, or looking at the number, they said it would generate $1 billion in revenue over 20 years. But the worry here is, as an economist, it seems like there's a duplicity of tax here, because we already have a $20 security fee that is embedded into the aviation sector already. And people are, whenever you buy your tickets and so on, you'd have to also pay for that. So now we have a new one, 11.50. And how will this in any way help the sector? Or do you see it as a means of just trying by all means to generate income, especially for the economy?
Right. This is actually negating the principle of the new taxation, because new taxation aims to actually reduce double taxation. It also aims to encourage businesses the more. So if you are looking at this one, this one is coming as additional, that simply means that their aim is being eroded with this policy. And that's why we're talking to the Minister of Aviation and the stakeholders to look into this critically and find a way to actually bring it down as much as possible. For me, let them hold on. Every taxation, even if it be 15% surcharge on fuel, 11.5 on dollars on security fuel. Let all these things be hold for now. So by the time we start the new taxation, which is much more major, we can see how. But I'm sure the president will not allow this, because I recall he has actually hold on the other one. So we must not be going in this route. That simply means Nigeria will be taxed to the brim if care is not taken. So for me, I think it's going to appear that the aim of reducing tax for businesses and making sure that businesses grow is being eroded with this new security fee, coupled with the fact that we have such already.
It's a lot. It's a whole lot to look into. I mean, finally, what would be the key recommendation to the NCAA and, of course, the federal government, especially on balancing the aviation needs with travelers' affordability concerns. What do you think they can do?
I think we need a much more policy that will attract more people into that sector. Because if you look at that sector very well, because we have very little people in that business, and very little airline, there's need for an incentive to incentivize people to invest more in the aviation sector. And there's need to also go out, canvas, let other countries allow our carriers, our Nigerian airlines to actually travel abroad to take our passenger. I think that is the major thing we should look at. Let's open that sector the more, and also get more infrastructure, because infrastructure is key. You need to do that and have a clean and very, very secure airport. I think that's the major thing that we need.
All right, Dr. Aliyu Elias, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. We'll wait to see what the next steps are regarding this. What we've seen sometimes is if there's enough pushback, the government, takes 2 steps back regarding this policy. But I guess in the next few days, we'll see what will happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning. Morning. It's a whole lot, Olive. I think one of the motivations, especially for the federal government, is the fact that there's this clear understanding that Dirty December brings in a lot of foreign direct investments.
These are not another way for them to benefit from Dirty December. Exactly. But the truth is, we're already benefiting from Dirty December.
And Olive, let me just highlight this to you. I don't know if Nigerians can recall. This AP's tax started when a particular Nigerian
said that they should tax.
That they should start taxing everybody.
Oh, is that where it started?
Of course. Now, he didn't just say that because he said that. Even within the industry space, a lot of veterans and some who are in the industry were already saying that, you know what, I think the federal government can also profit from this by taxing, even if it's $5 and so on per person. That's exactly what they said. So
I have a number of questions. Who owns the AP's platform? Why was this necessary? Is this not considered double taxation in some measure? And that they're going to be published annual reports about how these monies are spent. It's not enough to come and say that you're adding $11.50 and then you're doing this to strengthen security. What exactly has that extra $11.50 done? We're going to break, and when we come back, we'll have Dr. Sowore joining us in the studio as we expand this conversation further. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still talking about the latest information we have regarding the addition of $11.50 to flyers inbound and outbound, and that will commence from the 1st of December 2025. The Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority announced this plans to introduce this levy on all international air tickets, and the charge known as the Advanced Passenger Information System, APIS levy, is projected to generate nearly $1 billion in revenue over the next 20 years. Now, we're joined by Dr. Sowore, who is an economic analyst and political analyst, and he'll be sharing with us his thoughts on this. Good morning. First of all, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. It's good to be here. Yeah.
This doesn't look like good news for those who travel, but let's get your sense. $1 billion. On the one hand, we're trying to generate revenue and generate more income for Nigerians, but did the flyers, the international flyers, have to bear the cost? What do you think might have been the thinking of the government when doing this?
Okay, the thinking of government, you have said it, is to look for avenue where they can make money through improvement of security. Security has become a challenge. But again, I always say that strategic thinking tells you what needs to be done now and what needs to be done later. If you compare the reality of what flyers pay, you will be shocked. 5 hours or is it 6 to South Africa? The other day, one of the airlines was billing about 5 million naira for business class. And it's crazy. When you compare this reality with what other people are paying across board, you discover that already, especially when you want to fly out of Nigeria, people are already paying too much. And if not for, sorry, because I need to be mentioning a few airlines, just to drive home our point this morning, it was after the introduction of Airpeace into the Nigeria-London route that the price, at least what we call normal, is still not normal, but the price came down a bit. Before then, people were paying through their nose. And you know that heavily, Nigerians travel from here to UK. So when you put this reality together, the question you continue to ask yourself is the fact that, how did we get to this point? Because it's not even about those that are traveling out of the country. It's also those that are traveling within the country. Anytime I go from here to Akure is 45 minutes. The last time, that was last week, it was 148,000. There's no logic that is supporting that fact that you fly from Lagos to Akure for 180,000. Saturday, this last Saturday, it was 300,000. So how do we get to the point where people are paying this heavily to travel? And when you even continue to give a logical interpretation to it, to say that those people traveling are at a certain level, those people flying are at a certain level of the economy, all of that is nonsense now, because those people you think are middle class now are damn very poor. So where they within the country, they can't pass through the road because maybe of security, of bad road and all of that. The other day, somebody was living here, I think last week, from here to Asaba. And just before Benin at Okada, she spent about 10 hours on the road, just before Benin. Ideally, if the roads are good from Lagos to this thing should not be more than 4-5 hours maximum. So these are some of the things that I think we need to think through. So before we levy, and this is one of the reasons why stakeholders are even concerned, because Nigeria aviation this sector already is extremely expensive. So beyond the need for dollars and all of that, and I understand the fact that we need more dollar to make our naira stable and all of that. And I've argued before that the 1,400 plus that we are changing for dollar now, it's not actually the real value of the naira. But beyond wanting to tax everything, there are basic measures that needs to be put in place. For instance, just like Boko Haramism, that we've not got any, government has not arrested any sponsor. It's the same way there are people holding dollars today. There are transactions that go even in your nose string across our Lagos today. There are places you get to the Lagos that you can't pay in naira. If government does not deal with how we localize dollar, you discover that we continue to do all of this levy, put more burden on the people, and it's not going to amount to anything.
And do you fear that this might, I mean, yes, local travel is very expensive, like you've mentioned. This new levy will apply to only international travel.
Yes.
How do you project that this will turn out? One, there are a number of ways that it comes to me. One, that the government might see a pushback from citizens and then go back on the decision to go ahead with this policy. Or two, they'll just go ahead regardless.
The pushback would be extremely scanty, because you are in a country of 250 million people. You cannot beat your chest that 10 million of them can fly. So where would the dissenting voices come from? Except if you also have the opportunities and the platform to talk about it, people will just overlook it and, okay, let's just move on. But the truth is that when you continue to make all of these policies, instead of your citizens rising to the pedestal of having the capacity to be able to travel abroad, you are continuing to dip them into poverty. And I've said it repeatedly, no amount of education you will give to anybody without exposure, it is nothing. So you are going to have a more informed citizenry when you give them an opportunity to fly, when you give them an opportunity to see how things are done in the... I say it, that most Nigerians are very critical of their government because of lack of exposure. This is what I mean. The France president was walking in, I don't know whether it was in New York, and there was a road freeze because the president was coming. If that had happened to a Nigerian president, the backlash would have been too much. But you know what happened? I read their newspaper, there was no complaint as much because some of these people are very exposed. They know that some of these things can actually happen. So when government takes the people out of poverty, government is indirectly helping itself, because people now, we have an helicopter view of events across the world. Because they've been there, they'll be able to compare and contrast. But when you keep them in abject poverty, when they cannot move beyond where they are, they continue to be critical of your government. So anything that government does that brings people out of poverty is actually a help to itself as government. So we may not see a lot of backlash, but the reality is that we have to register our voices that we cannot continue to run an MMM government. MMM is more money misery, that everywhere you see you have to bring in more money. We need to be a bit strategic about how, because when these people come, remember, there's an economy. You can begin to divide all the economy. In Lagos, for example, we have the street economy. The hawkers, if you send them away, it's going to affect the economy of Lagos, because there are people who wake up in the morning, their breakfast is sausage and water. And they go back in the evening, they pick the same thing. So there's an economy. So those people that are coming from the abroad, the dirty December that you see in Lagos, that brought in a lot of money to the government and the people of Lagos, was as a result of the people that they came, because they know that it is attractive to come. So what we should be thinking about is how to make some of these things attractive for people to be able to come and willingly spend their hard-earned money, so that at the end of the day, the people can benefit and the government can also have something to take from it.
It's a lot. But anyway, permit us to switch gears now. One of the hottest stories in town. I want you to watch this video. I don't know if you've seen the update as well, but let's take a look at this video and we'll talk about it quickly.
Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. That's a legal definition. When the Christians or any such group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide. What horrible numbers. Something has to be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and to report back to me. And I mean, like, immediately. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. It's not only Nigeria, it's all over. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. This is not going to happen. The killing of Christians is not going to happen.
Happened, Dr. John? I don't know. I know we've been following this story very closely, but what's your take on this?
It's a bit complex and complicated, extremely concerning, if you ask me. And it's the first time I'm seeing that government official, and I'm going to start from that angle because it really excites me to see that government officials are responding with all the kind of maturity that they can muster. This is not a fight of PDP and APC where we cause ourselves. But going to the matter, I said it in 2015, and I love the way the Minister for Solid Mineral put it. He said the consistency that this government is putting into fighting terrorism, if they had put it 10 years ago, and I calculated, 10 years ago, APC was in power. We had an opportunity of accepting APC marketing of a general, because at that point in time, we thought that the two major issues that were bedeviling us were the issues of corruption and insecurity. So they marketed a general, and everybody thought that once a general sits on the throne, that the charlatans will leave our community. Unfortunately, the general sat on the throne, and the story became even worse. What we are saying is that, and I do not want us to divide this very important conversation along religious line. I have said it before, that it was in the pursuit of God that man found religion. Unfortunately, in the exercise of man's religion, man has missed God. The most important conversation we should be having now is the fact that are there unnecessary killings in Nigeria? And the fact is yes. Are there avoidable killings in Nigeria? The answer is yes. Is the government responding to it the way the government should respond to it? The answer is no. And I've said it repeatedly that the concept of security is not in the absence of crime. The concept of security is in the response to crime. So you can tell a community has been safe and you can still see a lot of crime happening. But once the government has the habit of responding to it so quickly, you term the community has been safe. What we've had over the years is that government has not been responding to crime the way government should respond to it. And I said it here. See, I'm going to show you this. I never knew this conversation would happen. But yesterday night, somebody sent a message to me. And I don't want to mention the name, but the message is very instructive. She was asking that I should send my account number so that she can return the money she got from me. Return it to me. And there was a phrase she used that she mentioned the name of the person who actually got the money and said, said it in Yoruba that Owoti somebody Jemi. It means that the money the person is owing. But let me tell you the story behind the money. That money was for ransom. The guy was kidnapped in Ibadan, and we had to be gathering money for him. Now suddenly he's owing that amount. Because he's free now, he has to pay the money back. That's the situation. So when I saw, I couldn't send account balance at my account number. Because in reality, I just saw that, oh, suddenly this guy is owing because we rally around and put money together to bail him out of the kidnappers then. That's the situation. So it's very easy for government to say, oh, Donald Trump, you are wrong. If it happens at your backyard, you will understand with utmost certainty the guy only was trying to avoid the trouble of landlord. He moved to his own house, not fenced, because he was tired of all the harassment and all of that. Now he has left the house. He can no longer stay there because they came right into his house. Now this is another story you're not aware of. When they were paying the ransom, they paid it inside the city center in Ibadan, under a bridge in Ibadan. Those guys came into the city and collected the ransom. This thing that Trump is talking about, it's not a subject of what Tinubu did. It's an accumulation of incidents that have happened over the years that the government has not been strategic about it. I say it to you, if President Tinubu decides today that we are going to sort out the issue of Boko Haramism, of banditry, at a point, Killer Header became number 4 on global terrorism index. What was the government doing then? They were sleeping. The strategy of Goodluck Jonathan then was to cage them to the northeast when Boko Haramism started, until they came and bombed the UN office in Abuja. This is the conversation. If it has not got to your backyard, you will come on television to defend the government because you are in government. But if you've tested a bit of the insecurity, and why is Donald Trump talking about Christianity? If you know the atrocity that has happened in Jos, if you know the atrocity that has happened in Benue, you will understand that it's not just a figure that is being manufactured. I understand the fact that everyone is involved. But the truth is that when this conversation started, what we used to see in newspaper across all our global platform is Islamist terrorist. So if an Islamist terrorist enters a community and kills 10 people, 8 of them Muslim, 2 Christian, the 2 that were killed, that were Christian, we have more conversation around it. Why? Because those people were Islamist terrorists. That's what they are called them. So the conversation this morning is that no government can actually say it is serious. And Donald Trump will just be laughing because we look very unserious. The government itself said, I don't know whether it's 34 name of Boko Haram sponsors. Have you heard anything about it? No. So for any government to show that it's actually serious, the first thing you have to do is to point at Nigerians, arrest Nigerians who are the sponsors of terrorism in this country, and they are not far from politics. Most of these people, and that's why you see that once is election cycle, 2 years to election, 1 year to election, the rate of crime naturally increases. Will you say that government is not aware? You remember, is it Wadume, the other guy that they arrested the other day? They got to checking point and they clear out those people who arrested him. My friend, the national president of Afenifere Youth Wing, was kidnapped on his way to Abuja. He had told us a story of how the ransom was paid. He said that he noticed, because when they profiled them and they saw that he was the biggest man in their camp, so he was the one coordinating, making the cost and all of that. He said that all the ransoms were dropped very close to military checkpoint. These are conversations that we must have, not that Trump now said, Nigeria, we are concerned to ourselves. The only people that will come out now and say, oh, we are okay. And this is not, don't forget, because they like to quickly respond. This is not about their government. It's an accumulation of what has happened. But people voted for their party in 2015 because of the promise of insecurity. So, and when you buy an organization in economic buyover, you buy both the gain and the losses. So one of the things, when Asiwaju was saying Emilokon, one of the things he was signing for is that no matter the level of insecurity, I am going to, if you vote me, I am going to solve it. 2 2 years is going now. 2 years down the line now.
3.
Three. Governors are adorning Asiwaju cap. Nobody is having real conversation. Now we are being demarcated outside and everybody is coming to defend. This is not a defense. The best response to any insult is success. So the only response we have for Donald Trump as a people now is to sort out the issue of insecurity as quickly as possible. And it begins with...
How do you think they're doing it so far? So, because after that pronouncement, we've seen the military putting out information like never before. The foreign minister has traveled like he has never done since he was appointed. The president is now welcoming the Archbishop in Abuja to shake hands with him inside the villa and telling him it's good to see you. Let's work together. We're also seeing other updates here and there. Everybody seems to be showing working now. It's like, let's get on our toes and work. I remember that a certain politician, Mr. Peter Gregory, had talked about Nigeria and they said he was demarketing Nigeria. But I don't know what this stands for.
And you know that's how I open. Of course, there can be partisan conversation around some of the things that happen in Nigeria. But the truth is that we have not done well enough as a people. We have not done well enough. And people must understand that we have to separate this thing called politics. Politics in Nigeria is giving a false impression that is solving any problem. But in reality, it's creating more problem. The reason why nobody has been arrested or publicly displayed or what you may have is because of the fact that most of the sponsors of Boko Haramism have links with government. That's the only seriousness you can show as a people that we are fighting this crime. Sir, I don't know how to paint the issue of insecurity because also I don't want to demarcate Nigeria. But the truth is that where we are at the moment, it's not a good place. The number of insecurity that you get to read in the newspaper is nothing compared to the reality of what is happening on the ground. So we need to solve this problem. And there's no rocket science about solving it. Solving it is that, you remember Major Olawumi? He was in the military intelligence. He did an interview. And he said the rallying point of all of this are the sponsor of Boko Haram. Yeah. And in fact, he was one of those people who initially said that, see, he fears for Christians. He was one of those people who said so. And he said, why? Because some of the people that the government knows, in fact, at the point where he was making this allegation, he was saying it authoritatively that there were Senate members at that point in time, senators, who were sponsors of Boko Haram. He said there were people in Buhari government. This man worked in the intelligence. Yeah. So he knows what he was saying. But up to today, we are still where we are. So the government must wake up.
It would seem that a lot of the anger we've seen from the government in the most recent time has been directed at the idea of correcting the impression that there is no Christian genocide. Have Nigerians been killed? Yes. Are Nigerian lives being wasted due to insecurity? Yes. So the question is, and I want you to speak to the government's response, or what the government's response should be now, because the government has been speaking a lot. We've seen the Minister of Foreign Affairs sharing what the constitutional provision is in Berlin and how the Constitution allows freedom of religious association. How would you analyze or assess the government's response now? And how do you think the government's response should flow from here? Okay,
so I think for the very first time, and I have to be very, apart from the fact that everything was everywhere, there's no coordination of response. Okay. When you want to communicate internationally, you don't give room for what we call basket communication. Basket communication is that everybody that has idea is chipping in.
And maybe one minister.
Yes. You saw the aviation minister.
Exactly.
It was fantastic, but it was not fantastic because it was a basket conversation. That should have been the main conversation of government. That, oh, we are using the aviation minister as a case study so that you understand that there are Christians in our government. And everybody, the communication agent of government, will rally around that conversation and push it. So it's better than what government has been doing, honestly. Coming from our little experience, it's better. But again, moving forward, the conversation should be around the success stories that are visible. Pushing our success story, defense, all of this defense will not take us anywhere. Oh, we have achieved this here. Let's push it out. That this is what we have done. And by the credibility or buy into the believability of the Nigerian state, a lot of people think their government is lying. So once you have this kind of believability, the government is saying this is what we are doing, and the people can support. As we speak today, the volatile area, you talk about Benue State, you talk about Plateau State, you talk about Southern Kaduna at that point in time. And in fact, for the government to now support what Trump is saying, do you know what they did? They didn't know. All of these things leads to another. If there's a security report in the front of the US president, and the report is saying Christians are being killed, and you denied your minister, you deny somebody from becoming a minister because of security report that is connected to Southern Kaduna, you remember, the L5 story.
I remember.
One of the things they said is that they were security, actually. And when you get to Southern Kaduna today, you see that it's populated with Christians. All of these support one another, but government does not know how to put all of this information together as one and be able to interpret what Trump is saying. Everything Trump is saying, we are the one that volunteer that information. With the way we do things, with the way we react to issues, and with our daily politicking. So if you denied an El-Rufai because a security report linked him somehow to the killing somewhere, you have not come out to say that. And Donald Trump is saying there are killings of Christians, and you want to deny that there are not killings. I don't want to support religion because the volatility in Nigeria is extreme. But the truth is that there are people that are killed daily, and it doesn't matter where they belong to. All of these deaths are unnecessary.
Completely. It's a lot of... let's see a former CDS in an interview with Al Jazeera. He was asked about this insecurity. Now, remember that the president has indeed reshuffled and changed and sacked some of the security chiefs. But while CDS, Christopher Musa, was asked a question on a TV program in Al Jazeera, on Al Jazeera, this is what he had to say.
Is that I think we've talked to the international community. Let's find out the funding. When they started surrendering, by the time we left, so as we speak, we have over 120,000 that have surrendered. Most of them, when you find them, they are coming with hard currencies. How did they get them? How are they funded? How did they get the training? How did they get the equipment?
What is your suspicion?
Well, maybe an international conspiracy, you don't know. Who knows? How are they be able to sustain themselves for 15 years? That is one question I think everybody should ask himself. For Nigeria to be able to hold them, and you go to Nigeria, everything seems to be working.
Well, the former CDS, they're saying that you find them with hard currency. Also, don't forget, a lawmaker in America as well had mentioned that some of these supports coming from the US AID is also being used as well for supporting these terrorists. So if we look at it, Nigeria is battling with this situation right now, okay? And you have security chiefs who have said, listen, these guys are funded. Now, let's go back to Dubai. A list was given. You've mentioned also another list that was purported with names. Is it that it is a hard thing to bring out that list now? Wouldn't now be a good time to bring out the list and name names? And if these people are still in power, it's high time that they leave power and face the music.
Once any government begins to think about the next election, most sensitive actions cannot be taken. Because when, I said it before, and I am quoting somebody that everybody knows, who said that some of these people are in government. The fear of next election will not allow government to operate the way government should operate. And I think it's high time we understood the fact that the gain that we are having through democracy is getting doing by the day because of insecurity. So now the question is that what the former CDS said is supposed to be an encouragement, but it's also a disappointment. Because if at the topmost echelon of security architecture in Nigeria, we are having doubt as to who is sponsoring Boko Haramism, then it means we are not doing anything. But again, there's no doubt about the involvement of international, or let me say, of other countries.
Yeah.
But what I am concerned about is that Nigerians, we always think about this cup that is out of our reach. and we will leave this object that is in our reach. What I'm saying is that let's pay attention to people that are within here, people that are sponsoring from within, conspirators within, before we begin to think about. I believe that if we solve this problem, it's like when the story of insecurity I was telling you about, the young man that was kidnapped in Ibadan. When they took him into the bush, one of the stories they told him is the fact that we have been on your trail for 3 months. In fact, that we saw when your wife went to the market and came back today. They told him everything that happened during the day. It means that directly or indirectly, there's somebody within the vicinity who is actually feeding them information. That's the situation. When you cut the source of information, you have indirectly cut the source of funding. And the source of information, these are the people within our shores that we, as a matter of urgency, if we want to respond to this thing the way we should be responded to, these people should be brought to book as quickly as possible. And the courage, because the president came out one day and said, oh, I love courageous leader. But the courage should not end in the economy, removing subsidy. On the first day, he said, subsidy is gone. Oh, we are going to the foreign exchange market. We are going to liberalize it. Well, those are courage in terms of economy policy. But all your courage will become nonsense if security becomes a challenge. How will security, do you see the potential as quickly as we can in 1 minute of security issues being dealt with? Especially we've seen what's happened with the reshuffling that's happened in his with the defense staff. Let's talk about the importance or the import of that. Do you foresee that that might help in the fight against insecurity? He's giving them a brief, a task as to what is expected. Gosh, he said. Okay, so if you look at the history of disobedience, that the number one, the commander-in-chief will give an order. You remember even Buhari, yes, and gave the order, and nothing was happening. So if you are to judge with that experience, you can just as well just be skeptical. But I'm thinking I'm seeing new energy and new tonic in the government as far as the fight against terror is concerned. I hope they will not go to sleep. I say it again, the problem of Nigeria, look at it roundabout, from infrastructure, health to education, is lack of sense of urgency. A man who can build one road of 100 kilometers for 10 years will not pay attention to insecurity until something happens to him. So please, we want to believe that this will lead to something that is beneficial to everyone. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Dr. John, for joining us. Thanks for being here. It's a pleasure. And we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at another very critical story here on Breakfast Central. Stay with us. Welcome back. Convener of Revolution Now, Omoyele Sowore, has filed a 500 million naira fundamental rights enforcement suit against the Nigerian Police Force, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetoku, and the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Moshood Jimoh, over alleged violation of his constitutional rights. The Federal High Court in Lagos has issued an interim order restraining the Lagos State Police Command and its Commissioner of Police from arresting, harassing, or intimidating Omoyele Sowore. Justice Musa Kakaki granted the order on Wednesday following a suit filed by Sowore seeking to enforce his rights to dignity, liberty, and freedom of movement as guaranteed under sections 34, 35, 39, 40, 41, and 46 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, as well as relevant provisions of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Sowore, in the affidavit of urgency, reportedly stated that on the 3rd of November 2025, the Lagos Commissioner of Police publicly declared him wanted without any prior invitation, arrest warrant, or charge. He described the move as unlawful, saying it tainted his reputation as a journalist and former presidential candidate. Meanwhile, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Olondare Jimoh, had earlier defended his decision to declare the activist wanted, insisting that the action was taken within his constitutional powers to maintain public order. Joining us now to discuss this is counsel to Omoyele Sowore,
Inibehe Effiong, it's always great to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Thank you.
When Mr. Sowore was here on the show, I had asked him if he had gotten any invitation from the CP prior to him being declared wanted. He said none of such had happened, and that, as a matter of fact, he had called the CP as soon as he saw this, and the CP didn't pick his call. But now we're hearing that it's within his constitutional rights to declare him wanted. So at what point can a person be declared wanted legally?
Thank you. Let me start by saying that Mr. CP Moshood Jimo has acted in this matter essentially as a political operative. He has not demonstrated the professionalism that is expected of a police officer. He has portrayed himself as someone who has a personal axe to grind with Mr. Sowore. We have had cause to call out the personalization of this matter and to tell Nigerians not to take this CP seriously on this matter. The reason why Sowore has chosen to seek redress in court on this issue is basically to further enrich our jurisprudence. It is not because ordinarily Sowore is intimidated or is frightened or is worried by what we lawyers call brutum fulmen, the empty threats of the Commissioner of Police. Now, no authority in Nigeria, other than a court of law, has the power to declare a person wanted. And in this particular case, the Commissioner of Police does not have any legal basis, does not have any factual justification, does not even have any moral imperative to have made the very unethical and unprofessional statement that he made, to put it in a very mild language. Now, Sowore was arrested in Abuja for organizing and leading the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. That led to his being personally and directly attacked by lawless policemen acting on the directive of the Inspector General of Police. He was detained at a place known as former SARS Abattoir in Abuja. Some persons were able to see him. I made efforts to see him. I was denied. Subsequently, they filed what they frame as a charge against him, which is pending before a magistrate court in Abuja. He was granted bail, remanded in the Kuje Correctional Service or Custodial Service, pending perfection of his bail. The Correctional Service ought to have taken custody of him. But the same policemen invaded the court, attacked Sowore, attacked his lawyers, attacked his supporters, and even pressmen. And subsequently, he was able to perfect his bail, and he got released. Prior to then, the Commissioner of Police had publicly stated that Sowore must not come to Lagos, which for me is a very responsible position for a Commissioner of Police to take. Moshood Jimo has no right to detect to any person where the person is supposed to go to. And then he claimed, oh, Sowore diverted to Ondo, as if Ondo is a criminal enclave in Nigeria. Or Ondo is Sambisa Forest. Even in Sambisa Forest, people may be doing legitimate activities. And then he came to Lagos and he was threatening hell and brimstone that would deal with him. So we decided that, look, we must not dignify this act of insolence. We must not dignify this act of lawlessness by honoring this lawless or responding favorably to the so-called declaration. So let Sowore seek redress, which he has done. And thankfully, yesterday, the Federal High Court has made an order prohibiting his arrest or detention or police taking any further action arising from the purported declaration. So that is where the matter stands as that today.
But you know that the rule of law was one thing. Declaration made by courts, Nigeria's justice system is another.
Yes.
Because we've seen where declarations have been made, yet it is not being followed. Doesn't this scare Sowore and, of course, his legal team that they would, one way or the other, still go ahead carry out the arrests.
The police cannot scare anybody. Even me that is talking to you, the police cannot scare me. Who is intimidated by Moshood, Jim, or whoever? They can't scare anybody. Let them do their worst. We are ready for them. At the end of the day, it is about insisting on the rule of law. It is about insisting on due process. Nigeria is our country. You cannot be intimidated or be frightened by a policeman who probably has few years in service. History will remember him for the role he has played in this matter. But are we intimidated? No. Are we worried? No. Sowore that you are talking about is a veteran of the struggle. In fact, he has become an honorary member of the Nigerian judiciary. He's a regular guest and customer of our courts. So I don't think even Moshood Jibo himself knows he cannot intimidate Sowore. That is where things stand.
Okay, I also wanted to ask, he made some very strong allegations the last time he was on the show about an order on, he said he was declared wanted after they were unable to carry out the shoot on site order that was given. Do you want to speak, can you explain what details, because I did ask him his source, because these are very strong allegations about the shoot on site order. Can you tell us about it?
Well, the truth of the matter is that the threats against Sowore has been ongoing. It has been persistent. We have had cause to be genuinely concerned about his safety. We believe that he's being targeted, and I just hope that the police is mindful, and the IG in particular knows that if any harm should befall Sowore, the Tinubu regime and the Inspector General of Police will be held responsible. They have made repeated attempts on this man's life. What is his offense? What is the crime of Sowore? Oh, he's taking part in protests. Oh, he's calling people out to demand good governance. That is an act of national service. But this is a country where patriots are demonized, criminals are exalted, those who steal from the public are revered. And that explains the depravity behind the consistent attack on his person. The IG has personalized the matter. It is no longer about policing. The ongoing confrontation between the IG and Sowore is not about policing at all. This is simply a personal vendetta, vindictive act by a lawless head of a law enforcement institution in our country. So I hope that the government is mindful that Sowore is not alone. Some of us will always identify with him because we know that he means well for the country.
Okay. I mean, you've said that there've been threats and you're holding the police and the government responsible. Now that, how would you say, or what would you say the next steps are regarding the case, with Sowore? We have the Nnamdi Kanu case, and now you've taken the police to court. What are the next steps? What should we expect? The updates in this matter?
We expect the judicial process to run its course. As I said, Sowore has quite a number of cases in Nigerian courts, which is expected because this is somebody who is constantly challenging the status quo. Someone who is constantly urging on Nigerians to demand their rights. When you live in a repressive regime, the repressive government, in a repressive country, where the rights of Nigerians are not respected, it can be explained that, look, the government is not comfortable with the truth, and that is why they continue to witch hunt him. Sowore has become the conscience of the struggle of the Nigerian people, and to his credit, he has stood consistently, he has been on the side of the people. You invade a community called Oworo-Nshuki, you demolish houses of indigent people, and what is your excuse? You want to allocate the land to real estate persons, to private investors. The houses that they want to build, or whatever they want to do on that land, will it be for the interest of the common people of Lagos? The answer is no. But what do? Have you paid them appropriate compensation? You have not. Have you paid them adequate compensation as enjoined by the Constitution? You have not. So what do? They come out to protest, they come out to ventilate their grievance, and what does the government, what is the response of the government? You unleash talks. Is it not a shame that in Lagos State, it looks as if talks are part of is an arm of the Lagos State government? You are using talks along with the police to chase people out of their homes. I mean, some things happen in Nigeria and you begin to wonder what is wrong with our politicians. We have seen a video evidence of talks invading Sowore to force people out of their homes. And this has been going on for years, particularly in this Lagos. Once government wants to take people's land, for whatever reason, they engage, touts and use them to chase the inhabitants of those properties out of their properties. So, and you are saying they are not supposed to be angry, you are saying they are not supposed to have an opinion, and then the commissioner of police was brandishing himself, speaking so confidently, as if he is on any legitimate law enforcement exercise. Those he is supposed to be protecting, he's tear gassing them. Were the protesters in Sowore armed? Were they violent?
Well, they've come out to deny
public property?
that, they were, that they abused your assaulted citizens. The police has denied that they did any of that.
But the evidence is before you. Your report has covered it. Does this commissioner of police look like somebody you should take seriously on those kind of issues?
Well, we don't know about that. I mean...
No, I'm asking you. You saw him, preemptively. You are deploying so much force, sending out more personnel carrier, and you are personally overseeing what was his intention? He said people should not protest, claiming you have banned protests. I think we have a lot of sick people in Nigeria holding public offices. Honestly, because there are things that happen and you simply cannot explain it. Look at the show of force, the insane show of force. For what? Because Nigerian people want to express themselves. You are saying, no, we are not going to allow it, we are not going to tolerate it.
So what is the future of protests in Nigeria, especially given the track record of what we've seen since 2020, when the way protests were, protests are being carried out was totally changed? What is the future for protests?
It's for Nigerians to continue, because look, the government is never going to relinquish or cede a territory or the civic space to us. Nigerians must continue to exercise their rights. Nigerians must continue to protest, despite the repression that we are seeing. They will make you look as if, oh, this is just about the demolition in the Sowore. No. The reality that we are facing as a country today is that the government does not want to see any form of dissent. And it doesn't really matter what you are protesting for. It doesn't really matter. Whether, if, as a matter of fact, any reason, any explanation you offer for protesting, the police will attack you. Even if you demand an end to terrorism today, like we are hearing now, that, the ongoing national conversation, there is no issue that you are allowed to express your opinion without being haunted. And that is an indication that we are in a police state.
Well, update here says that Lagos State has registered 100 more property owners for compensation concerning Sowore. And do you think this compensation will be enough? Do you have any idea of what the compensation likely looks like? Because, I mean, during the entire protest, I'm sure there were conversations with some of these tenants, former tenants, who have lost their properties. And we also did have videos. We did take videos of them crying and complaining, especially bitterly, about how the process was done. Notices were served. Some said yes, some said no. So why is Sowore engaging in this entire fight when there seems to be discrepancies in terms of how the process was being done?
The point is that we don't need to justify why we are protesting before we can protest. The reason why we are protesting does not need to look or sound plausible. It doesn't even have to be agreeable. Now, you are saying government has said they are going to pay more people compensation. Constitutionally, if you look at the provisions of Section 43 and Section 44 of the Constitution, payment of adequate compensation is a condition to expropriation of land. And by virtue of the Land Use Act of 1978, the government has to first pay you compensation before your land can be expropriated, either for overriding public purpose or overriding public interest. So when you now seize land, grab land, because what is going on is state-sponsored, state-licensed, state-engineered land grabbing. You grab land from people, and then the people come out to say they are not happy, they are not accepting this. You use talks to attack them in the dead of the night. in the dead of the night. Some of these families are married, they have children, they are sleeping. You invade their homes, attack them at night, chase them out, demolish their homes. How much compensation will you pay to assuage their grief, these individuals? So you have not paid the compensation, you want to displace them, render them homeless, before you now begin to imagine how much you are supposed to pay them as compensation. I don't believe this is responsible governance. I do not see this as a way to approach the matter. So no matter what the explanation is, even if you have paid them adequate compensation, for the inconvenience alone, Nigerians have the right to protest. So the argument that the CP was making that, oh, have they not been paid? It's irresponsible to say, have they not been paid compensation? Why are they still protesting? What is your business? How does it affect policing? CP Jimo should call himself to order. I cannot say the IG should call him to order because the IG himself does not particularly seem to care about the rule of law today. But the Commissioner of Police should be most circumspect. He cannot be talking the way he's talking. You know,
what makes you say that the IG is not interested in the rule of law?
Because he's also unleashing terror on protesters all over the country, including Abuja. This has become a pattern that every Inspector General of Police, every Commissioner of Police acts at the behest of the ruling government, the government in power, not in the public interest. So I'm very saddened by what has happened. Looking at the housing crisis in Lagos, many people in Lagos don't have homes to live. They don't. People are still living under the bridge in Lagos, our mega city. Many people, their vehicles are also their homes. And what does the government do? Look at the housing crisis in Lagos. Look at the cost of rent. As a matter of fact, even with money in Lagos, you struggle to find accommodation.
Yeah.
With your money, you struggle to find accommodation. So there has to be some point where the government will understand that government exists to serve the public good. So when you displace people, you render them homeless, and then you come out to say they are not supposed to protest, it is completely unacceptable.
Let's use this opportunity to also mention that hopefully by tomorrow, I mean, with the aid of yourself and Sowore, we're looking forward to have some of the affected house owners to come here and share their story as well. It will be good to also listen to them and know what they've gone through, especially those who possibly may have been compensated or have not been compensated. But on a general note, a voice note was equally shared.
Yes.
I don't know if you got a whirlwind of that.
About the threats?
About the threats.
Yes.
It was mentioned that Sowore will be, in quotes, I mean, it's alleged that it was rumored that Sowore should be gunned down, as it were, in that voice note, that if he's seen, it would not be done. It will be done by what they call area boys, that they should find him, that's the mandate. How are you taking that? How is Sowore taking
during
that?
NSAS, because they keep making allusion to NSAS. History is a witness to the fact that thugs, agberos, in quotes, were conveyed in state government-owned buses to attack protesters. It's not a new thing. But I want to sound a note of warning that Sowore's life will not be sacrificed on the altar of corruption in Nigeria. Sowore's life will not be used to appease the oppressors of our people. This is a man who has a family in the United States, could have easily gotten the US American citizenship. He left all that, came back home to contribute his quota to the development of our country. And they are witch hunting him. They are now making threats to his life. We are not going to tolerate it. So those who are thinking, you know, that they have a sole monopoly of unleashing terror should know that Sowore's life is precious to a lot of people, including myself. And we're not going to agree that it should be used as the sacrificial lamb in Nigeria. We're not going to accept that. So let the government take personal responsibility for its security, because, as I said, should any injury, any fraction of his hair be harmed, we're not going to engage in debate on who is responsible. The Nigerian government will be held squarely responsible.
And just to clarify, about the shoot-to-kill order or shoot-on-sight order, the Lagos State CP has clarified that he got no such orders from the IGP. And, you know...
Who gave him the order to Tiega Sowore? Who gave him the order to deploy armored personnel carrier to attack Sowore? Who gave him the order to declare Sowore wanted? We cannot listen to him. He doesn't have credibility on this issue.
Okay. So I think my final question would be what the next steps are. You've said you've taken him to court. You've taken the police, rather, to court. The CP had said that he has the right, and anyone who doesn't agree should go to court, and that what he's done is preventive, basically, because
what is it preventing?
They were preventing Sowore from inciting protest and blocking the Third Mainland Bridge, which would lead to a felony of some sort. You've gone to court now. Are you know, what are the prayers that you're asking the court? And, you know, when is the next, you know, what's the next step and the next hearing in court?
I think it's for the court. I don't want to make comments on the lawsuit, but he's seeking 500 million naira damages. Let the courts examine the matter and see whether this commissioner of police acted lawfully and responsibly or not. But the court process will run its course. As I said, Sowore has become an honorary member of the Nigerian judiciary. I will, you know, if you allow me, I want to convey that appellation on him as an honorary member of the Nigerian judiciary, having had to go through various courts in Nigeria over the years for one issue or the other. The Sowore is always in and out of the courts. So for the CP to be bragging that he's going to charge him, he's going to arrest him, who is he referring to?
I mean, we have the Nnamdi Kanu matter that is still hanging over his neck. The one of calling the president a criminal is still hanging over his neck. A number of cases, you know, that he still has to do with. Effiong, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's always great to have you. It's just unfortunate that we don't have you to discuss good news. All right. We will, of course, be bringing you more updates regarding this. But just to mention that regarding, we did start the show earlier talking about the United Nations. The Nigeria's Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, has dismissed the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern by the United States, describing the claim of Christian persecution and genocide as misleading and based on faulty data. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Idris says that Nigeria's security situation has been wrongly portrayed, stressing that terrorism in the country is blind to religion, tribe, or class, and that both Christians and Muslims have been victims of violence. He says that since President Bola Tinubu assumed office in May 2023, the armed forces of Nigeria have neutralized over 13,500 terrorists, arresting 7,000 suspects, and rescuing more than 9,800 abducted victims across the country. He adds that the current administration has overhauled the security architecture of the country with new service chiefs and modern equipment to infuse innovation and accountability into national defense while deepening cooperation with the United States and other global allies. Let's take a look.
In the fight against, it is important to restate that the menace of terrorism in Nigeria does not exclusively target any religious or ethnic group. As in many parts of the world, extremism is mindless and it is blind to religion, to class, and to any tribe. Any narrative suggesting that the Nigerian state is failing to take action against religious attacks is based on misinformation or faulty data. Several leading personnel of the very dedicated armed forces of Nigeria and the country's intelligence agencies are Christians working and succeeding alongside their Muslim colleagues in the fight against extremists and criminals waging war against our country and against our values.
In this government, in the Tinubu government, we are not reacting emotionally at all. We are reacting with empirical verification. We all know that this insecurity did not start yesterday, nor started in 2023. But from the actions taken so far, if one is unbiased, you will know that from the plethora of actions taken in the last 2 years, if we had taken those actions in the last 10 years, we probably won't be where we are today.
Very interesting conversation there. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the headlines here on News Central. Let's tell you that Nigeria's Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, has dismissed the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern by the United States, describing the claim of Christian persecution and genocide as misleading and based on faulty data. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Idris says that Nigeria's security situation has been wrongly portrayed, stressing that terrorism in the country is blind to religion, tribe or class, and that both Christians and Muslims have been victims of violence. He says that since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assumed office in May 2023, the armed forces of Nigeria have neutralized over 13,500 terrorists, arresting 17,000 suspects, and rescuing more than 9,800 abducted victims across the country. He added that the current administration had overhauled the security architecture of the country with new service chiefs and modern equipment to infuse innovation and accountability into national defense while deepening cooperation with the United States and other global allies.
It is important to restate that the menace of terrorism in Nigeria does not exclusively target any religious or ethnic group. As in many parts of the world, extremism is mindless and it is blind to religion, to class, and to any tribe. For any narrative suggesting that the Nigerian state is failing to take action against religious attacks is based on misinformation or faulty data. Several leading personnel of the very dedicated armed forces of Nigeria and the country's intelligence agencies are Christians working and succeeding alongside their Muslim colleagues in the fight against extremists and criminals waging war against our country and against our values.
In this government, in the Tinubu government, we are not reacting emotionally at all. We are reacting with empirical verification. We all know that this insecurity did not start yesterday, nor started in 2023. But from the actions taken so far, if one is unbiased, you will know that from the plethora of actions taken in the last 2 years, if we had taken those actions in the last 10 years, we probably won't be where we are today.
So staying on security matters, the Air Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sunday Kelvin Anike, has ordered all air component commanders from Nigeria's operational theaters to intensify precision strikes against terrorists and other criminal elements across the country. According to the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ehime Ajodame, the Air Chief made the charge in a meeting in Abuja convened to recalibrate the NAF's operational focus under the new leadership and to strengthen synergy across commands. While Air Marshal Anike declared that the emerging security landscape demands agility, intelligence, and enhanced lethargy, he stressed that the evolving nature of threats across theaters requires full synchronization of air, land, and maritime operations to achieve joint mission success. And now to politics. Tensions within the People's Democratic Party deepened on Wednesday as the factional National Working Committee linked with the Minister of the FCT announced the suspension of the proposed National Convention. We would also like to tell you that citing the need to uphold the rule of law pending the outcome of ongoing court cases, the acting national chairman, Alhaji Abdul Rahman Mohammed, explained that the faction had obtained the certified true copy of the Federal High Court judgment delivered by Justice Omotosho in Abuja. He said this prompted the decision to pause all arrangements for the convention until legal issues were resolved. He added that going ahead with the convention would amount to disobeying an existing court's judgment, insisting that the PDP must set the right example. Two federal high courts had earlier delivered conflicting judgments, which have further thrown the party into confusion over its planned elective national convention slated for November the 15th and 16th, 2025. The Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed the 100 billion naira lawsuit filed by Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals. The suit was against the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, and 5 other oil marketers over the issuance of refined fuel import licenses. Justice Mohammed Umar struck out the case after Dangote's legal team applied to discontinue it. The refinery had sought to nullify import permits issued by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, arguing that the continued fuel importation undermined local refinery. Dangote also demanded 100 billion naira in damages. The withdrawal ends a high-profile legal battle that spotlighted tensions between local refining interests and Nigeria's fuel import regime. And that's all we have for you here for the news for this hour. Join us again at 12. We'll bring to you a 1-hour full news bulletin called The 12 Report. In the meantime, stay with us. The front pages of the newspapers is up next. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Definitely, this is Breakfast Central, the final stretch. But before we bring to you the front pages of the newspapers, let's quickly join our man who is live in Anambra. I'm talking about the man known as Austin Azu. He is on ground as we count down to the all-important election, the gubernatorial election happening in Anambra. Austin, you seem not to look like what you've been through. It seems like Anambra is so sweet and so good to you. Yeah, go ahead. Good morning. That was my introduction, though.
Austin, can you hear?
Good morning.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't get the question, please.
No,
I'm just saying that you don't look stressed, you look good, and we're hoping that that's an indication of how smooth the elections in Anambra, the preparation for the elections in Anambra are. What's the mood like?
Yes, of course, we are stressed and looking at what has been happening for the past few days, the atmosphere is saturated already with the election fever, and from one event to the other, and today and now currently we are just starting the day, so obviously we have not really done much for the day, so that's why Joe might be saying that I don't look stressed, but I'm stressed already. But we have to do what we have to do what we know how to do best, and we are here to provide coverage for the off-cycle election here in Anambra State. Okay, let's begin. The Anambra State governorship off-cycle election, of course, we come on Saturday, 8th November 2025. And from what we have gathered so far, we are currently at the INEC headquarters here in Oka. Beside me and around me, you can see the presence of security personnel. And of course, you can equally see some other individuals. Probably they might be observers, and not only observers, there might actually be some journalists and others who are here to, perform one duties or the other for this off-cycle election. So let's begin with the security. In terms of security, like what the DIG said, who represented the IGP at the peace accord and subsequently that of the stakeholders engagement, he talked about over 24,000 personnel has been deployed for this election. And these 24,000 personnel will provide security for the voters, for the electoral materials and INEC officials to ensure they are able to conduct free, fair and acceptable poll here in the state. And of course, we have 21 local government areas in Anambra State, and each of these local government areas, from what the DIG said, that each of the local government area will be manned by CP, who will ensure that there is security is watertight. And besides that as well, he equally talked about other aspects regarding logistics and so on and so forth. But that of INEC, precisely, the INEC national chairman, that's Professor, who spoke to the stakeholders, that of course that the numbers of those who will be going to the poll on Saturday, approximately 2.8 million, and across the 5,718 polling units and across the 3,026 ward collation centers, that election will be conducted across these areas, across 21 local government areas. But vis-a-vis the arrangement personnel, that all logistics and everything has been put in place. And of course, as of 3 days ago, that non-sensitive materials have been taken to the various local government areas of the state. And besides that as well, that probably today, from what we gathered so far, that the INEC officials and security agencies will be going to the CBN to go and inspect the sensitive materials that will be distributed onward to the local government areas and thereafter to the rack centers where those materials will be taken to the polling unit on the election day. The whole purpose of all of this, according to what they said, is to ensure that on the day of the election, that they don't experience any issues like a delay or late arrival of voter materials, and subsequently to ensure that elections start exactly 8:30 on the dot, and the election will start 8:30, simultaneously going with accreditation, then onward voting process. And besides that as well, it's talked about that that all the beavers has been tested to ensure that there will be no issues like malfunctioning of the beavers on the day of the election. Of course, INEC said they are ready for the election, and security agencies have equally confirmed to us that they are ready to complement security measures to ensure that they protect voters, electoral materials, and the officials to ensure they are able to conduct acceptable polls across the 21 local government areas of Anambra State. So we have spoken to some respondents, residents of the state, in a high spirit to ensure that they go to the poll on Saturday to go and vote. But among all the respondents who spoke to, some persons equally expressed, their observations about the election. They are still having this belief that their votes will not count. So because of that, some of them are equally saying that they might likely not going to the poll to go and vote. In terms of security, some of them have divided opinion that yes, they believe that the security agencies will be able to provide them security. And of course, let me say this, that there's local security agency on ground. Before now, Anambra in the past few months was tensed with insecurity. So the local security agency was able to douse the tension, and some of the locals here have confirmed to us that yes, Anambra is not safe, that they cannot go about their lawful duties and here and there. But that to say that what the police or what the IGP equally reiterated, that the local vigilante will not be part of the security agency that will conduct or that will monitor this exercise. So it means that the police and their sister security agencies will be the only one to provide security for this election. So by and large, the atmosphere is saturated, the election fever is quite high, and expectations are high too that INEC will be able to live on its mandate. But the primary purpose of all the conversations we envisaged or we encountered is that this is the first election that the INEC national chairman will be conducting. Of course, a lot of persons have said that this will be a litmus test for the commission ahead of the 2027 general election. So back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much for sharing these updates with us. We look forward to seeing the people of Anambra turning out in their numbers to come and vote for their next governor. Wish all the governorship candidates may the best man win. Do stay safe, Austin. We'll connect with you again. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now let's look through the papers and tell you what the front pages are saying. Remember the numbers to call on your TV screen, and you can also join our live stream on YouTube, where your comments and reflections about the stories we're taking matter. This morning we're joined by Wade Ahimien. He's a familiar face, you know him, and it's good to have him here again. Thank you so much, Wade, for joining us.
Good morning, Olive.
It's good to have you.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Great to have you.
All right, let's get into the story for today and begin with our first paper this morning. Let's start off with the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch, the big story there this morning says, Wike block defiant as PDP Board of Trustees insists on convention. PDP faction locks secretariat as BOT, Wike camp hold rival meetings. And then we can see over 85 killed as flood wreaks havoc in the Philippines. Food imports soar 45% as local production falters. Truck crushes Lagos tricycle to death, injures 2. Tinubu to open editors conference November 12th. Trump's threats, federal government engages diplomats, rallies military commanders. 15% import tariff could make Nigeria fuel-producing powerhouse, according to refineries. Marwa fights for second term as 5 rivals closing. I predicted mass US visa, green card revocations, Shoyinka says. Let's start with the power showdown. Wike block. So there was a court order given by Justice Omotosho in the Federal High Court in Abuja that was barring them from having this convention happening on the 15th and 16th. Then they came to Oyo State and got another judgment from the High Court in Oyo State, stating that this ban, they can lift it. And these are both courts of coordinate jurisdiction with separate judgments. Now, Wike's bloc has said that, this convention will not hold. The BOT insists the convention will hold. How do you think that this will play out?
It seems like Justice Omotosho is very prominent in a number of all these. Don't do this, against this, for this. Yeah. And is becoming a regular feature. This is my opinion now. This is what I think I've observed. Every injunction seems to go through Justice Omotosho's court. How will it play out? I think like the National Working Committee has set up a 6-man member panel to try and resolve the issue. The question is the convention meant to hold? Have they held their convention for this year? And if it's meant to hold, where will it hold? Ibadan, because of the Oyo State governor, who, like we all know, he also has his own agenda. I think that convention will hold, in my opinion, and it will hold with one faction not being there, which is what usually happens. And then, of course, the next day or the next couple of days, that will be the front page news and the headline news of convention held, who is the chairman. We've seen with the PDP this year that everything that happens when you elect someone, then there's a court order that says this person is not supposed to be elected, and that's how it's going to go. But unfortunately, if the PDP as a party and the constitution of the PDP with what it says and believes that people are having anti-party activities, then they should expel them. And that would be my opinion. And if they don't have the political and will to do that, then I'm not sure that they are ready to be an opposition party, if there's really any opposition party in Nigeria today. So that would be my take. I think that convention will hold in Ibadan. I don't know, maybe they will push the date or they will hold it silently, which is what usually happens. And you would hear the pronouncement of that
Justice Omotosho has said that if that convention holds, they won't take seriously any deliberations.
Yeah, but like I said, Justice Omotosho seems to be coming up a lot in these things, especially when it comes to the PDP. All these injunctions and all seems to be coming from. Is he a member of the judiciary, or because sometimes
you're tilting the line of Dr. Adetukubo Pierce on the show. He's also accused.
Yeah. So because you are the lawyer, and I need to ask you, you must be able to, like they said, lift the veil and look at things from a broader perspective.
But it's the court is not a Father Christmas. It's what is brought before the court. In this case, for example, they brought the case before Justice Omotosho.
I know you are going to tell me all this, your legal...
No. What I'm saying is they brought the case before Justice Omotosho. But it seems to be that everything that happens on injunctions, except maybe
I don't see well, or I'm not paranoid. Maybe my hair is not making me think well. But Justice Omotosho seems to be in the forefront of so many injunctions in the politics of Nigeria. Why? That's a question that, well.
Okay, let's quickly, still looking on the front page, there's some other stories. I want us to take as many papers as we can. Let's quickly move to the Nigerian Tribune. If we have time, then we'll go back to the Punch. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, federal government says Nigeria winning war against terrorism, ready to partner with US. They say over 17,000 suspects undergoing trial, 13,500 terrorists killed, 9,800 victims rescued. You saw that in the video there. MAN, that's the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, backs 15% petrol diesel import tariff. Tinubu Sultan, Uzodinma, other eminent persons for editors' conference. PDP crisis, Board of Trustees appoints 6-member panel to reconcile warring groups. BOT's moving nullity, Anyanwu's camp says, appeals Oyo High Court ruling. Invasion of PDP office is a direct assault on democratic values, according to Bode George. Senate in shock over $300 billion crude sales losses. And why reps threatened showdown over Tinubu's request for 1.150 trillion naira fresh loan. Demand full implementation of 2024 capital projects, 30% of 2025 projects. Okay, let's start with the big story. Nigeria is winning the war against terrorism and they're ready to partner with the US. I actually want us to read the riders. US-Nigeria cooperation resulted in delivery of a dozen Super Tucano aircrafts. Another dozen AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters to be acquired by NAF. Nigeria stands as model for religious diversity and democratic resilience, Tuga says. Trump lied to the world. Federal government must act, not lobby Washington, Falana says. So, your thoughts on the United States threat to invade Nigeria? And the federal government saying that we're winning the war. Are we winning the war?
I'm not sure about winning the war. Maybe because they're no longer on the pages of the newspapers or the headlines of the news. It seems that we're winning the war, but I don't think we're really winning the war. We need to speak more about it because it happens every day, and a lot of it is not coming out in the news. My big brother Yusuf Tuga, yes, we've acquired Tucano, we've acquired the helicopters. Are they being used? That's a big question because I was somewhere else today, and those were some of the questions we were asking ourselves. How are we doing with intelligence? You know, collaboration sometimes is not just about buying the weapons or the equipment that you use to fight. It's also about how you manage the strategy to manage how intelligence comes, how you use that intelligence and all, which could be a good way for the US to partner with us. I do feel a lot of the things that have happened that has come out of this, US has a lot to blame from what happened in 2014, but that's a different story entirely. But the truth remains that first and foremost, Donald Trump's truth message, you know, is a bit, in my own opinion, is a bit funny because they're killing Nigerians, not just Christians. They're killing Muslims, they're killing Christians, they're killing traditionalists. They're first and foremost Nigerians. So wanting to invade Nigeria, it could be for different reasons. It could be because you want access to some of the raw minerals that you have in Nigeria. Or maybe Donald Trump is looking for space where, I know we have a lot of beachfront where he wants to build a new Trump Plaza, you know, like he said in Gaza and all those. He's always looking for spaces close to water. But we never know, you know. That's the lighter side of it. But the truth remains that diplomatic measures must continue to go on, which is what I think the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, is talking about.
All right, let's quickly go on a break. We will come back and look at more stories on the front pages and take your calls as well. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're reviewing the front pages of the papers. We've had a look at the Punch newspaper and the Nigerian Tribune. And Wade Ahimia is still here with us. Now, the phone lines are officially open. If you'd like to call and share your thoughts or contribute to any of the stories we've spoken about, the PDP convention scheduled to hold on the 15th and the 16th of November, and whether or not that will happen. And we've spoken about the invasion threat by the United States against Nigeria. Let's still look at the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, and we'll take calls in between. Still on the front page, I want us to, talk about the reps threatening showdown over Tinubu's request for 1.150 trillion naira fresh loan. They're demanding the full implementation of 2024 capital budgets and 30% of 2025 budget. So there's a new demand, a fresh demand for loans.
A fresh demand almost every month. So it's not new now. Last, I think, October, it was 2.1 trillion. Another 1.15 trillion. We're borrowing our way into spending. Although they would say the indices being presented are showing that Nigeria is in the right trajectory. For me, like I always say, one of the biggest things is the stability of the foreign exchange, so people can actually plan. But they say inflation has dropped. Well, we need to go to the market. There's also another headline there that food imports have gone up 45%. I remember, I think it was a couple of months ago when we were talking about, oh, there's so much food, prices are coming down. And I remember saying then that, of course, food is seasonal, and that season is coming to an end. Mm-hmm. So, of course, you start to see it again. And that's why there's a lot of import coming in just to ensure that you can augment the gap within that system. But this government in the last 2 years has probably borrowed more than the previous government and the one before it. So in 2 years, it's borrowed almost monies for 12 years. That was borrowed in 12 years. They would say, oh, we're repaying our debts. But I see it as robbing Peter to pay Paul, which is what is happening. Almost every month, we're getting new borrowings. And the promise was, oh, we're not going to borrow that much. We would fix our tax system. Let's see how that comes in 2026, if they can bring more and more people into the tax brackets. I do hope so. Maybe that will reduce our spending. But the borrowings have gone out of proportion, in my own opinion. Right. Another 1.15 trillion. And I do agree that the reps need to fight back, because nobody's telling us all these borrowed monies is for infrastructure development, is for X, is for where are we? How has it been spent? Do you understand? Even the ones that are supposed to be spent for palliative measures, how has it been spent?
Who has received them?
Give us a list of the 12 million Nigerian households that were on that list. It started with 15 million, then they reshaped it to 12 million. So tell us these 12 million households, because my household has not even received the cover, and I don't know if your household
No, they didn't give you.
So those are the questions that the reps need to be asking. Are they having enough guts now to start asking those questions? Because nobody seems to be asking. Every time they bring it, those who agree say aye, and the aye has it. And the aye seems to have it every single day. And of course, the aye is going to have it again for this 1.15 trillion. That's my opinion.
Okay. Let's see other stories very quickly. Let's also check out some of the stories. I think the Nigerian Tribune has a very interesting story there.
Let's look at the top right, Joe.
Yeah, that top right is what I want us to go to.
Senate in shock over $300 billion
crude sales losses.
Let me go into the details. The Senate on Wednesday received the interim report of its ad hoc committee investigating crude oil theft in the Niger Delta and fresh concerns that Nigeria may have lost more than $300 billion in unaccounted crude proceeds over the years due to alleged collusion, poor industry oversight, and entrenched sabotage networks. The committee, chaired by Senator Ned Nwoko, Delta North, was set up earlier this year to probe the persistent theft of crude oil bunkering operations, illegal export networks, and alleged compromises within regulatory and security systems, a crisis long blamed for dwindling production and Nigeria's failure to meet OPEC output quotas.
It's not news, is it?
Well, it's news.
But like you know, under the last administration, one of the major issues, to the extent that I think it was the AFCC or were every week telling us how much crude oil was stolen and how they've been able to recover it and what was stopped. But like we always say, there is nowhere, it takes at least two people to commit a fraud or to commit a crime. It's never one person. You know, many times people always think that it's always one person. One person might be the one that actually does the actual crime. But of course, it takes someone else to buy it from that person. And this is what has happened in the industry. Yes, I do believe that there's poor oversight in that industry, but sometimes when you look at the policies, for instance, now, there's another one there. So on the left hand, I think I don't remember the 15% and tax on importation.
Yeah.
And man saying, oh, they support it because it's going to help refining in Nigeria, in quotes. Do you understand? Who are the refiners? So when you put all this together, then you start to wonder, are we serious about developing this country? You know, I was having a conversation yesterday with someone, and then everybody says, like the US thing, you're saying Christians are being killed, or someone else will come and say, I was watching your interview, the interview with Sheikh Gumi, that Muslims are also being killed. The first question is it about Nigeria? And for as long as it's not about Nigeria, then this is what happens. You would lose that $300 billion because nobody thinks about it as part of the economic development funds for this country. It's about what comes into my pocket. And like I always say, the I better pass my neighbor syndrome comes into play. And that's how I would leave that. But it's not news. So why is it shocking to the National Assembly?
Question is, what would they do about it?
Nothing.
That's how they go.
I don't think they don't have any powers to do anything. They can invite the oil companies to come and tell them what could have happened. They can invite the security operatives to come and give them the details of how they are trying to improve the security. But in reality, I'm not even sure they can back, not to even talk about bites.
And this is what leads to a complete impunity and complete recklessness when it comes to ensuring that people are held accountable.
And I do agree with you.
Whether you like it or not, if these funds have been declared or found missing, let's see if the Godswill Akpabio-led Senate,
I don't think. So let's be careful. No, let's be careful. There's a report that says, allegedly says this. So the next thing is, based on that, then you should speak to the security architecture. Then you start to put in place. Let me finish now. Let me finish. Then you start to put in place what should be the justice process. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you understand? Because that's how it would be. Then you would send it over to the Ministry of Justice, who will now kick in all those things. So let's investigate who was there, what's possible. Then you bring in the police. Then you now go. It's a stage by stage thing.
Don't forget
some
that
of these things can take copy.
But don't forget that this committee did not just work. They worked with auditors and security.
It makes no difference. So
there's no need to bring an external security person.
Let's be careful. Again. When you do an investigation,
this is a committee, not investigation.
No. Let me finish. When you carry out an audit or an investigation, you submit a report of your findings. Now, when that is done in an organization, if what will happen is that the chief executive or the board will say, okay, what are the actions that need to be taken? Oh, they have found that somebody, so you would speak to them through a disciplinary committee. For the country, then you will go through the security and justice system. You would say, okay, this is our recommendation, this is our report, and this is our recommendation. The Ministry of Justice look into this. Are you with me? If there are people that need to be investigated, you call in the police who will carry out that investigation, and then you do those details, and then come out and say, okay, we found XYZ, and then you go to a court of law and get the warrant for you to place an arrest. So let's not just say, oh, because the Senate says that they are crying over $300 billion losses. It's over a period of time. This is over 10, 12 years. So you don't just decide and say, oh, because the Senate has no power. That's their work. They've done their oversight work. Well, the next thing is to pass it to those who are going to go through that process and ensure that the right justice procedure is done.
Please, I want us to move to the next paper, the Vanguard newspaper, because there's a story that I'm reading about here that makes me very sad. The right corner of the paper, Senate mulls stiffer penalty for persons ripening fruits with harmful chemicals. Now, if I go to the details of the story, in 2025 alone, Nigeria recorded over 14,000 cases of cholera, resulting in about 378 deaths and 119 deaths from food-related Lassa fever infections. Now, what are these practices that we have seen? There was a presentation, a committee was set up, and the presentation, they said that they found a rise in dangerous and fraudulent forced ripening of fruits with raw calcium carbide. Some of the things they use cooking meat with paracetamol, preserving grains with sniper, washing of fruits and vegetables with detergents to enhance their appearance, soaking of cassava in detergent or hypo solution, adding banned Sudan 4 dyes in palm oil and red pepper, use of burning tires to remove animal furs from skin, that is momo, among others. That the morpholine used as waxing agents for fruits and vegetables is on the European Union's ban list of chemicals. Now, these practices are linked to severe public health threats such as cancer, kidney and liver diseases, and foodborne illnesses, including cholera and Lassa fever. Where do we start from?
It's deep.
So we must start from the beginning.
It has,
and the beginning is
first.
There are no systems. No healthcare system, no health service oversight system, nothing. And let's be honest, a poor country or a country that has a high level of poor people are only just thinking of survival. Pomo seems to be, and let me tell you this, it's not going to stop people from eating the pomo. Because pomo seems to be the cheapest thing that you can put in a plate for your child today. Because even an egg is damn expensive. Exactly. It costs about how much? Almost 500 naira for an egg, or 300, 400. So let's be realistic. And I'm not saying that what they've done is right. But where the system has collapsed, this is what you get. And you continue to get it until we fix those systems. So those who are within those systems, whether it's the ministry or the parastatals or you know, when we do all these oversights and come out with all these reports, all, you know, with gloomy face and all, nothing is going to be done. This report is probably going to be swept under the table. But I know that where some of these things have been reported, and I've seen, there was a man, I think it was a couple of years ago, who used to soak the mango in gutter water, and he was arrested. And
but what happened to him after that?
I don't know.
That's it.
You see, that's why I said the system.
That's it.
You see, that's why I said the system. So, you see, you arrest a man, then you now have to go through that process. But there is no process, because there's no, when you take it there,
the police will say, what did he do? Okay.
He's trying to survive.
Lock him up.
But then again, so I think there
are so many things to it.
I think predominantly, I know I had this discussion with a few persons. Standard Organization of Nigeria, National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, whether we like it or not, I think there's a falling short of processes. Let's call a spade a spade.
Well,
let's call a spade, and I will say why, and I stand to be corrected, because this is national TV.
You seek to be corrected.
Whether we like it or not, when last, because you're also a journalist, when last did you see a data or a list of information like this that comes out currently quarterly?
And that's why
when last did you also see? I agree with you 100% that the systems are completely in shambles.
So the thing is that the Standards Organization, the other one, NAFDAC, and all. You see, West is a system, and it must be a system. And where you think that, like I always say, systems are based around individuals, that's where we make the mistake. So those systems, if we're not checking Olive, who's out there importing those things, of course that system must go from, if the man who brings it in or manufactures it does it well, what happens to when it gets to the table or to the consumer? Have they followed the process that is meant to follow? Do they clean it properly? Do they store it in the right places? And these are all things. But of course, there's so many, like I said, the level of poverty has turned
and Nigeria. I completely agree with what
and turned Nigeria. And I don't say it's right, don't get me wrong, but the level of poverty has I just need to survive.
Well, there's another aspect to it as well. You've mentioned poverty, and that's a very key part, because those who are, at the lower echelons of society, the malam who's selling with his wheelbarrow, and the woman who has a stall, she's first of all thinking about electricity and power. Our post harvest storage, we have issues with that.
So
there's a power angle to it,
so
and then they cannot lose their money. And I will never ever support them doing these acts, because it invariably hurts us.
It hurts them too, because sometimes when people say all these things, after some time, so let me give an example. There's so much wastage, like you said, power, no storage, no proper way to store things and everything. Even when you have a warehouse, people go in there and steal your goods. So because the level of, first and foremost, the level of poverty has killed systems, and even those within the system are not even trying to help. Because in those days, and I grew up in this Lagos, sanitation workers used to walk around.
No, they don't. They don't anymore.
Nobody does anything except they see something being done. I remember, just one last thing. I remember when they were fixing my road that had not been fixed for years. And there's a woman who sells just by there. And then by the, what's it called? Of course, there's a drain where water is supposed to go into. And I specifically told them that if you don't block off this drain with a gauze or something, are you with me? Or have a no, it's going to turn into a refuse space. And I've seen it happening. What am I going to do? But of course, the cleaners will come and clean the road every day, but that's the best they can do. And when they clean it, they leave it on a heap and nobody packs it. So that's the reality. And unfortunately, it's completely wrong, and I am against it.
We're going to take this conversation a little further here on Breakfast Central, especially that story in particular, looking at how the laws are adapting and how it's affecting every single person. Thank you, Ade, for being here.
Thank you for having me as usual.
And thanks for watching Breakfast Central. It's been a fantastic edition here. We look forward to be with you again tomorrow. My name is Joe Hansen.
My name is Olive Emodi. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.